Welcome to Unit 1 of our course on Agri-Economics and Farm Management. In this unit, we will explore the meaning, definitions, importance, and limitations of economics. Let's begin our journey into understanding one of the most important social sciences that affects every aspect of our lives. The word economics comes from the Greek words oikos, which means home, and nomos, which means management. So, literally, economics means home management. But today, it has a much broader meaning. It is the study of how individuals, societies, and countries manage their limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants. Just like a family tries to meet all its needs with limited income, so does a society or country. Before we go deeper, let's understand some basic assumptions that economists make when studying human behavior. These are like the rules of the game in economics. First, we assume a person is rational, meaning they always try to get the maximum benefit or satisfaction from their actions. Second, we study normal people, not saints or madmen. Third, people aim to reach a state of balance or equilibrium where there's no need for further change. Fourth, we assume other things remain constant. This helps us isolate the effect of one variable at a time. Fifth, economics assumes a certain kind of market structure, usually competitive markets. Sixth, we assume perfect knowledge, that people know everything about prices, products, etc. And finally, we assume that people act in self-interest. Adam Smith is known as the father of modern economics. He wrote a famous book called An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations in 1776. According to him, economics is the study of wealth, how it is created, used, and distributed among nations. He believed that increasing wealth leads to greater happiness for citizens. So, the main goal of economics, according to Smith, was to find ways to make a nation richer. Smith focused heavily on wealth. He considered only material goods, things you can touch and use, as wealth. He ignored services like those of doctors or teachers. His definition also looked at the causes of economic development, how production and trade increase national wealth. However, his focus was mainly on physical goods rather than human well-being. Smith's definition was criticized for being too narrow. It focused too much on wealth and not enough on people. Also, he excluded non-material services like education or healthcare from the idea of wealth. It didn't talk about how wealth should be earned, whether through fair or unfair means. And most importantly, it said little about human welfare, which is a major concern in modern economics. Alfred Marshall gave a more balanced view. He defined economics as a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. According to him, economics is not just about wealth, but about how people earn and spend money to improve their lives. He believed wealth as a means to achieve human welfare, not the end goal itself. Marshall emphasized material aspects of human well-being, food, clothing, shelter, etc. He studied everyday people doing everyday things, not extraordinary individuals. He classified human activities into economic and non-economic, and focused only on those that contribute to material welfare. His approach made economics more practical and relevant to daily life. However, Marshall's definition was also criticized. Some argued it still narrowed the scope by focusing only on material goods and ordinary people. Also, the idea of welfare is vague. What makes someone better off isn't always clear. Critics like Lionel Robbins pointed out that economics should deal with scarcity and choice, not just welfare. In 1932, Lionel Robbins gave a new definition that changed the way we think about economics. He said, economics is a science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. This means, we have unlimited wants, but limited resources. So we must choose how to use these resources wisely. Robbins identified three main points. First, human wants are endless. Second, resources are limited. Third, these resources can be used in different ways. Because of these facts, we must prioritize our wants and make choices. This is why economics is often called the science of choice. Robbins' definition is widely accepted because it's analytical and scientific. It treats economics as a positive science, neutral between goals. It focuses on how people behave when making choices, not whether those choices are good or bad. It also expands the scope of economics beyond material goods to include anything that satisfies a want, even services or intangible things. Still, Robbins' definition has been criticized. Some say it ignores human welfare completely. Others argue that it doesn't apply well to very rich countries or socialist economies where scarcity isn't the main issue. There's also confusion in real life between what are ends and what are means, sometimes they overlap. Let's compare the two views. Marshall saw economics as a study of material welfare, while Robbins focused on scarcity and choice. Marshall treated economics as a social science, while Robbins called it a human science. Marshall was normative, concerned with what should be, while Robbins was positive, just describing what is. Despite differences, both agree that economics deals with human behavior and resource allocation. Why do we study economics? Because it helps us understand how to allocate limited resources efficiently. It guides government policies, business decisions, and personal choices. It helps us understand global issues like trade, development, and inequality. Most importantly, it helps evaluate how policies affect people's lives. Traditionally, economics covers 5 main areas: consumption, production, exchange, distribution, and public finance. Consumption is how we satisfy wants. Production is creating goods and services. Exchange involves buying and selling. Distribution is how income is shared among workers, landowners, and investors. Public finance looks at how governments collect and spend money. Modern economics is divided into 2 branches: microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics studies individual choices, like how a firm sets prices or how consumers decide what to buy. Macroeconomics looks at the big picture, things like national income, unemployment, inflation, and economic growth. Despite its usefulness, economics has its limits. It mostly studies activities related to wealth, not emotions or culture. It focuses on social and rational humans, not isolated or irrational ones. It only deals with scarce goods. Free goods like air aren't studied. Economic theories often assume other things stay the same, which rarely happens in real life. And unlike physics or chemistry, economic laws are not exact, they depend on human behavior. To summarize, economics began as the study of wealth, evolved to include welfare, and now focuses on scarcity and choice. It helps us understand how to use limited resources wisely to satisfy unlimited wants. It plays a crucial role in shaping policies, managing businesses, and improving lives. But it also has its limits. It's not the whole story of human behavior, just one important part of it.